There will be no face in the photo. And I try to get at least one good shot from every roll, so if there's more than one. Can you come a little forward? And then have your knee touch the stones. A lot of the stuff is, you don't really understand like what's going on, and it can feel like a little cheesy, a little stupid, but I swear like I see something that could be interesting. I feel like digital photography is a completely separate medium in a way, and I just love the tangible quality of film. You know, I'm really just all for the ability of having that light hit the film, expose the image, and using the chemical process to create my negatives, and then going into the darkroom and altering the way the light hits the light sensitive paper, and then developing it in those chemicals. Just, I get to use my hands throughout the entire process. And digital, I feel like there's a barrier. It's just kind of you and a computer, and that screen is kind of keeping you from being able to really interact with the image that you're creating. So even though I do respect digital photography, like I think digital photographers are great at what they do, but it's just like, it's another language to me. I love the tonal range of film. I think that people can spend so much money on getting the best quality digital cameras, but you can get a fraction of the price film camera and the quality will be better because it's real. It's not about the sensor, which is what a digital camera is all about. And it's like a film camera is about the way light hits that negative. So it's just very authentic to me. And again, I love working with my hands. So being able to actually touch everything that I'm doing is very, very important to me. The chemicals definitely have an effect on your head. So it's a little hard to keep printing sometimes if you don't have good ventilation. But other than that, like I guess finding the right exposure can always be like a little bit tricky. Like if you ever see a markup of a print from like a really famous darkroom printer, it's just covered in like X's and circles and, you know, times for each section of the photo. So you don't simply just turn on the light, expose for a couple seconds, and then develop. You literally have to kind of pour the light onto certain areas of the photo and then take it away with your hand. So kind of like you hit that light and you're just like exposing, pouring, and you know, maybe you have like a cardboard square and you have a hole in it and you're just letting like light flow through that little hole. So there's a lot, I think, to making a single image. Thankfully, like there's the internet, so it's fairly easy to find film materials, and being from New York City, there's still like a lot of very major photo stores that carry a lot of film supplies and darkroom supplies. So I feel like at this point it's really never going to become obsolete. Also, film is very popular amongst like a lot of hipsters, so that's kind of keeping it alive as well. So I have no trouble getting the materials, but like traveling abroad with just a single suitcase, you kind of have to be crafty. So I've learned that if I buy powdered form of chemicals, it's a little easier to transport. You'll only need to add like hot water or like buy a jug, and that's really easy to find anywhere. And I just bring my own film and I bring my cameras. So setting up a simple developing darkroom is really easy. However, like the full darkroom is definitely impossible to pack into a suitcase, especially like the enlarger, which enlarges the negatives. You know, it's like this big, it's really huge, really, really heavy. You can't transport something like that. And usually I'll make a plan of like what I want to take with me. I'll kind of write down some ideas maybe and kind of figure out where I'm going ahead of time, and then I'll select like what size mirrors I want. I have very large mirrors, but they're very heavy, very hard to carry. So if I'm going to be doing like more hiking, then obviously I won't just bring a large mirror with me because it's too heavy. So just a lot of mirrors, but also any sort of interesting prop, like I love skulls and any sort of taxidermy or anything like fur, just anything relating to an animal, even like an interesting shell, just anything that came from like the natural world that I can work with. I really love having a woman literally be involved with nature, like not just interacting in a landscape, but being like almost a spirit of nature, and they kind of wander and play like very nymph-like and kind of mischievous as well, like changing things and taking away things. And that's why I also use mirrors too. That's why the women are holding mirrors. It's to kind of warp the landscape. They have this kind of like mysterious power to just change it on a whim. Not only look kind of delicate and fragile in this landscape, but be like all powerful, you know, to kind of be able to stand alone. My series kind of all have the same theme, like they all involve the landscape and like mirrors and transformation, but it's like different things to focus on in the landscape. So I have Illusions, which was my first series where I first introduced using a mirror. And then I have like Horizon, which is all about just the horizon line, where sky meets land or water and there's nothing in between. There's no mountains or anything. It's just the straight line. And then I have another series where I introduce kind of like a taxidermy type of thing. Like I add animals with people to the landscape, but because they're taxidermy, they're dead animals, the women are interacting with them in a very strange and kind of unsettling way. Like for example, if I have a fox in my photo, the woman is like holding her hand over its eyes, and that's something you can't do with an animal. So the fact that I photograph something like that means that the woman is, you know, even more a part of nature and even more like an unnatural spirit. I have an image that I call Divide, and it's a photograph of a woman with just the horizon line, kind of like a hill, like it slopes. And she's like a dancer, she has her arms up, and there is a break in the sky above her hands. And the way I photographed it, it looked like smoke. People think it's smoke, but it's not. It's simply just a very cloudy day, and there was just for a brief moment in time that break in the clouds, and that blue sky caused my black and white image to have, you know, this rich black tone to it. My most used camera is a Bronica, and it's a really old camera from like the 60s or 70s, and I use 120 film, and that basically means that instead of like small little 35mm negatives, they're a little bit bigger, and that allows for more tones and more detail. I really hope that my artwork can inspire people, because everything is so digital and things can just be like manipulated in a computer. I hope people can like look at my artwork and be like, oh, there's no computer involved, there's no Photoshop, there's no digital anything. Everything is just literally right in front of the camera, and that's all. So I hope when people look at my photos, they maybe get inspired to try photography themselves, or at least some sort of art form.